So Garmin have finally released the most requested feature that people have wanted to see in regards to ClimbPro on their units. And that is, if you have a compatible newer unit, ClimbPro will work anywhere, anytime, any road, without you having to follow a predefined route. This is super cool functionality. I've been using it for the last 2 weeks on the new Edge 840, getting to know how it works, the ins and outs. But rather than sit here at the desk and tell you what it's all about, let's get out on the bike and see it in action and get to know what it's all about. Before getting stuck into the new features of ClimbPro Anywhere, Anytime, we'll have a look at the new widget that comes along with this new update called Climb Explore. Now, Climb Explore will scan the local area based on your current location and bring up a list of climbs, so distance to get to the start of the climb, the average gradient, and also the length of the climb. We can change the search radius, we can change the difficulty of minimum and maximum climbs that it will detect, terrain type, and the sorting order. Now, scrolling down, you can see the options there for climb difficulty categorizations, but what we want to do is pull up a climb and show you what this is all about and what it's detected in the Climb Explore widget. So clicking on climb number 5, this is a climb just north of Black Hill in Ballarat, and it's categorized as a 4th category climb. And if I hit ride, it will navigate me to the start of that climb so I can complete the ascent. A little further down the list, we'll load up climb 29, which pulls up quite a popular climb in Bunningyong, which goes up the ascent that is featured in the Australian National Road Cycling Championships. It's categorised this climb as a 3rd category and has changed the colour, but it does do some interesting routing right there at the start, taking me through the back blocks rather than up the main road where everybody rides, where obviously the popularity routing would indicate. Anyhow, enough of that. Let's jump into ClimbPro Anywhere, Anytime as we approach this climb that is detected on screen right here. Now, with 30 seconds to go before the new ClimbPro feature kicks in automatically, on screen here I have displayed just the standard base map, not the ClimbPro screen. So the Edge has overlaid the climb that is up ahead and has given it a categorization of none categorization because there's no number at the start and it's not too steep, so it has given it the green color. So that's what happens there, automatically on screen as the Edge scans around the local area and displays the climbs that are up ahead. All right, now we're just about to start the climb here in about 140 meters. And as that distance ticks down, we can review the upcoming climb. So we have some real-time in-ride information, or what I would call intelligence, so we know exactly how to attack this climb if we've never seen it before. So the ride will kick up, drops off, kicks up again, drops off, and kicks up again. So a bit of a roller coaster coming up. We know the distance, we know the average grade, and on screen here, I have my 3 seconds power showing. So this is all generated on the fly with this ride and has detected climb number 1 for my 5 climb route absolutely perfectly. All right, let's get to the top. Already 260 meters to go. And if you look very, very closely on the top of the screen, the Garmin's already looking ahead and has detected the next climb or the next up if I continue on. Now that road ahead is not a paved road, so there's some interesting decisions being made there. Let's get up the final pinch here of the climb, and you can see the grade percentage is a little laggy. Definitely a lot more than 2% here, but that number finally comes to the party in just a few moments. There we go, grade 5%, grade 8, and we are just about to finish the climb, and there we go, climb complete. Average time, distance, and ascent. Now, I'm not going to be going straight ahead on this road, so I'll speed things up as I take the right-hand turn and head towards a T intersection, at which point the Garmin will scan around again, looks for the next up, and it will pop up here on the left. That is the next nearest ascent. And again, similar to last time, so green, uncategorized, and not too steep or too long. Now, at the bottom of this hill, I will be turning right and not going up that climb on the left, at which time the Garmin will then continue to scan around and look for other climbs in the direction that I'm heading and display those on the standard base map as an overlay. And as we can see right here, a category 4 climb has popped up to the left and an uncategorized one a little further down the road there on the left as well. Now jumping ahead to, well, what caused me to double take a few times on the head unit, and like a scene out of Austin Powers, it had drawn a giant.
Willie.
Yeah.
What's that?
Now, technically what you're seeing here is correct. There are two climbs combined, with the harder, longer climb being displayed there on the right-hand side. Anyhow, further up the road, on to climb number 2 for my 5 climbs route. And the Garmin unit, well, the ClimbPro Everywhere Every Time, has detected the climb a little earlier on. Now, I believe this is being refined in future firmwares, but it did detect the climb in the lower slopes before hitting the climb proper and finishing within just a few meters at the actual top. So very, very close here. And again, 2 thumbs up for me on this one, as long as that start is just refined a little bit, I guess, in the near future. Jumping ahead again, and the edge unit is searching around for the next up. The next up is to the left of this turn here, but I will be heading to the next right. So it pretty much cancels out that climb and automatically detects the next significant, well, 2 climbs here on screen. And the one I'll be turning left on here is Longs Hill Road. Quite steep, but still not enough to give it any kind of category. Starting off the lower slopes, kicking up near the end, and there is an important section here at the end, which is a great example of the underlying base map data, which this unit is using in real time to generate these elevation profiles, not being quite correct. Now through here, it's not too far off. This is correct through here. It does kick up, and the grade eventually gets to around 10% here, still climbing, still climbing. Car back. And then when it tops out, typically, well, the Strava segment, which is curated by a human, finishes back there. But along here, in particular, right here, on screen there, the gradient is well out of whack. The measured gradient there is 1 to 0%. I'm definitely on flat roads, but it does indicate there, just before the climb finished, that it was a lot steeper than what it was. So just an example of where the underlying base map data coming from OpenStreetMaps or whatever Garmin have sourced isn't quite matching reality. On to climb number 4, and the ClimbPro Ascent Planner, or ClimbPro Anywhere Anytime, is, well, doing its job again. We're 4 from 4, 100% accuracy on detecting the climbs on this route. However, at the end there, again, the base map data or the underlying data on the edge head unit isn't quite matching reality. Here is not too bad. It does flatten out a little bit. But then right there at the end where it kicks up on the map or on the elevation profile, that's not really the case. It only is about 2 or 3% there at the end. Not a big one, but definitely a mismatch with data and reality. And lastly, on to climb 5 of 5 of my 5 climbs route. And the Garmin Edge 840 successfully detected the last climb as well. So very, very happy to see that, albeit a little sooner than the other units I was running with that earlier detection, which I believe will be refined soon. Now, the gradient shown on screen was pretty close to reality, although there was a bit of a mismatch there at the end where things did kick up, but on screen there on the unit, it just looked a little easier. Now, the climb finished about 20 meters or so before the actual top, which seems to be about par for the course across all the other units that I've been testing similar features on in the last week or so. Onto a bigger climb now, heading towards the summit of Mount Buninyong, which has just disappeared behind the trees there. And along for the ride this time is the Hammerhead Karoo 2. So I can do a side-by-side comparison of how the new Edge ClimbPro unit goes when put up against the Karoo 2, which has been doing this free ride look-ahead climber functionality for around a year now. All right, jumping ahead to in town and through the roundabout, the Karoo first identifies the climb and heads out Main Road, which isn't the most popular route. However, it is the biggest climb, I guess, ahead of me. And over there on the left, the Edge unit starts the climb right now. That has also detected the exact same climb out the road, but a little bit further. So 2.58 kilometers versus 2.0 kilometers. But both of those units are not taking the most popular route as ridden by all the cyclists here in Ballarat. Now, you can see the Garmin unit has detected a Category 2 climb, though, which heads up towards the summit, and that is the direction that I'll be heading. So let's jump to that intersection and see how the units go with their on-the-fly reroute of this real-time climbing information on screen. Now, this is a really interesting scenario that I am breaking away from the predicted path, and the 2 units will have to then recalculate and look ahead to see where I'm going. The Hammerhead unit will complete the climb and then continue to look ahead, whereas the Garmin over there on the left already knew there was a Category 2 climb there and has stitched that together And that's now the pathway that I'm on. So it's just sort of done it seamlessly, which is really, really good. The Karoo, still doing some computation there, looking ahead, and bang, there it is. Okay, so now it's matching 1 for 1, but it has called that Climb 3 on the Hammerhead, and they both heading up towards the summit, which isn't the most popular route around, but it is the most climbing. So let's jump ahead to the summit and see where they both finish up. Now, rumour has it the only person who's ridden up Mount Buninyong this fast is rider Mark O'Brien, who I believe will be lining up for his 450th attempt at the Australian Road Nationals next January. So let's see how Marco goes up the climb next year. Alrighty, as we can see here, 1 for 1, the two units are providing pretty much the same experience. Up the steep part here, they just do things a little bit differently with the ticker along the bottom there on the Karoo 2. Car back. And the finish line was quite surprising on both these units. So approaching the auto-generated finish line. Now remembering this is generated in real time on their head units. This is not a predefined route. This is super cool to see how they do. Okay, so the Karoo 2 finishes what it believes to be the summit right here. Climb 3 completed, with the edge unit still showing another 100 meters before it believes the summit has been reached. Now, I can unofficially confirm that it is possible for a head unit to detect the true summit. More on that maybe, hopefully, at a later date. Okay, summit reached right now. 5.3 kilometre climb. Now, once a summit has been reached, you can't do anything in ride to go back and look at those statistics on the edge unit. Over on the Karoo, you can see the climbs that you've done and a few basic statistics, but over on the edge, it would be really, really handy to be able to do some quick review of a climb that has just been completed. So showing, say, average power, average heart rate, speed, etc. But you can, however, do it after the ride once it's finished on the head unit and scan back through the climbs that you've done, just as you could with ClimbPro when following a predefined route, or you can load up Garmin Connect after the ride, go onto climbs and look at the climb. So pulling up the climb that I'm currently on here, completing Climb 3, Category 3, 5.21, so not too far off what I really did, and all the climb broken down here with max power and average power listed. So you can go back through the climbs once they're completed over on Garmin Connect. But when you're out riding, you don't have any ability at this point in time to go back and review the detected climbs and how you're performing on those. Putting the road behind us and the off-road ahead, if you could even call it a road. Now, over there on the left, on the Garmin Edge unit, it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. It knows there's a climb there off to the right, so turning the bike to the right. The Karoo unit hasn't quite come to the party yet, telling me there's a climb coming up. Until I'm closer to the start, there we go. And it knows that I'm definitely heading up that track. So that look ahead or the scan around the general area really, really does come into its own on the Garmin Edge unit for discovering new, I was going to say roads, not quite a road that I'm on now. But once loaded up, the elevation profiles there very similar. Distance to go is a bit different for both, depending on where they define the end of the climb. But to get through the technical section of a new area that I hadn't ridden before, both units doing pretty well through here. And yes, it did get quite steep. A little further south and on what I call the freeway through the forest, Codes Forest Road. And the Edge unit has detected a climb coming up. The Karoo unit has also detected a climb on the main road, but I will be taking a right-hand turn and a quick left onto the cross-country trail. So both units again having to reroute their climb information in real time. And to my surprise, they both do it pretty well and pretty quickly, with both then detecting that I'm on the cross-country trail and the finish of both being not too far off. But the most important part there is that the elevation profile is shown on screen, so I know what's coming up. And the answer there is more climbing. It's also worth mentioning that the climb detection can be configured on a per profile basis, with 3 options there for all climbs, medium to large or large climbs only, depending on your preference. Another example of 2 units detecting climbs a little bit differently to each other. The Karoo 2 there telling me to turn left and then turn left again, doing a 180 from the direction I'm heading. The Edge 840 has a little bit more intelligence in its look ahead, and it's telling me there were 2 climbs ahead if I turn left, and that's exactly what I do. So jumping ahead, turning left, and the Edge unit puts me on the climb, and the Karoo, unfortunately, does not detect the climb that I'm on for now. Even though this is, 700 metres at 5%, according to the Garmin unit. The Karoo unit's like, yeah, nah, nothing to see here in regard to climbs. Carry on, carry on. Oh, and anybody looking at the grade percent there over on the Edge, yeah, still a bit of an issue here. definitely not 0% that I'm on now, and nor had I been for the last 10 seconds or so. And finally, out on the gravel bike, and to my surprise, the Doctor's Gully Road climb was detected very, very early on. Probably 600 to 700 metres before the climb really started, maybe even a kilometre. However, I was pleased that it took a punt on where I was heading, it got it right, and displayed the correct elevation profile of what was coming up. So had I have not known that was a climb or that was there, having this information on screen here allows me to make a better decision to maybe avoid the climb if I wasn't into climbing for the day, or to hit the climb, because that is the biggest, most significant up that it could find in the area. Okay, almost time to wrap this one up. But before I let you go, just some commentary on this new feature and some things that I'd love to see in version 2 of this ClimbPro Anywhere, Anytime functionality. First of all, as you saw out on the road, on the mountain bike, on gravel, this functionality works and works very, very well. Until it doesn't, and that's usually due to the underlying base map data being a little off, or me riding climbs that just aren't being detected because they're too short or too windy or something. But overall, this works very, very well. Now, a few things I'd love to see with this new functionality in maybe revision 2 or revision 3 is for it to follow popularity routing on those maps. In Bunningung there, it did take me up some back streets, all with the goal of trying to get me climbing, but I'd rather go where everyone's riding, and that's straight up main road, which is still a pretty decent climb in itself. So adding some more smarts to where it's choosing those climbs are would be great to see. I'd also love to see ClimbPro data as a selectable data field for other pages. So rather than having to use the ClimbPro page, maybe I could use the elevation profile from the ClimbPro detected climb, maybe the distance to go for the detected climb, maybe the elevation to go, again for the detected climb, on other pages. That would be super, super cool. I'd also love to see a climb summary page, similar to that of the lap summary page that we have on these units. When you press lap, you can flip over to the lap page and show average power for the lap, normalized power, speed, heart rate, etc. I'd love a climb summary page. So as I'm riding along, maybe I'm doing hill repeats. I'd love to be able to see the average power I've done for the last detected climb. Or maybe if I'm trying to keep the effort low for the day, the average heart rate for the last climb. Just some more in-ride data from what's already stored on the head units from those climbs. The post-ride analysis is pretty cool, but I do think this feature could be used for more training purposes with that additional information on the units in real time during the activity. Alrighty, and with that, we'll leave it there for today. If you've enjoyed this one, found it informative, give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe to support this channel and be alerted of new videos coming up, and we shall see you soon.